Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Journey of Self. This is Nanaz Amjad, your coach and therapist. And today I would like to talk to you about specifically a scenario we often overlook. And this is when we go through a difficult time. Usually, it is seen that when we are hit by a crisis or we are going through a difficult time, what we typically do is either we try to implement the same coping mechanisms we have been using for many years, or we reach out to someone we trust so that we could just talk it out. Well, that's not a bad idea. However, it is also not a possible solution to a problem that you're caught up in. Many years ago, and I'll cite my example here from my life, I would have bouts of anxiety. They were so severe that I would feel like throwing up. And this constant throwing up led me to go meet a doctor, uh, a gastroenterologist, just to check if my digestive system or the liver was functioning properly or not. A lot of tests were done, and it was found that everything was normal and there was nothing wrong with the organs or their working. Yet my problem continued. And back then, I had no clue of how the traumas that were stored in my nervous system, which I had inherited, half of it from my grandmother, from my father, and my aunt, to the remaining half of my own life experiences. This trauma usually gets stored in our nervous system, and it may arises later on in life because I never used any effective mechanisms to deal with it. Even if I ever felt fearful or anxious, I would just use the same old coping mechanisms, thinking like, let's say I have a loss of appetite, or I again feel like throwing up. So my typical response to it would be to eat soft food or avoid anything that could cause an indigestion. However, the root of this issue was more stored in my nervous system, the anxiety which required to surface up and be healed. This work I did almost 17 years later with my coach and therapist. And only then I realized the many years I was not really guided to the most effective ways. So, friends, back to present. If you feel you've been through a difficult time and you have used your own coping mechanisms, however, of late, when you feel way too reactive, frustrated, angry, or emotionally overwhelmed, take a pause, reflect, and think, is it something to do with your present? Or does the root of this irritation, frustration, anxiety, and stress is somewhere in your past? This is your first step to be more aware of what's really being at play. What is the real cause of your overwhelming emotions or mental distress? This first step to awareness will help you move in the right direction. So, the call to action for you is, if you find yourself being kind of suffering from some kind of problem which refuse to leave you, thoughts or kind of an attitude, or even stress, and you feel that despite your best methods you have used, you still find yourself kind of entangled in the same similar issues with similar emotions and reactions, then Try this method. Reflect, take 3 deep breaths, and think about when was it, or what was it in the past that really had disturbed you, and what was the coping mechanisms you have used. Reflecting on incidents, specifically of very severe stress, which are of severe stressful nature and or are traumatic, will help you bring to your awareness of the many emotions which we have either suppressed or have put them in our back burner, or perhaps never knew the right way to deal with them. So go ahead and take this first step, which will help you at least connect and understand what's really is bothering you. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.